What's going on, guys? Matt here with my brother Ryan, and USC gets a pretty big victory in the Las Vegas Bowl. They moved to 2-0 in Las Vegas, and more importantly, 2-0 against the SEC. And for the first time since we beat Wisconsin in the regular season, I can honestly say I feel good about the USC football program. And I feel like this game kind of created momentum, and not in a way of the last year's Holiday Bowl where it's like we found our quarterback. I think this year was more we have so every single player on the offensive line is coming back. The running back was a freshman. The two star receivers are sophomores. So what this game was let's see what we have in these guys because I mean the bowl season's pretty much turned into kind of spring games to see where you're at for next season. And me personally, I was very impressed with the running back group, receiver group, offensive line. Maybe not so much the quarterback, also some position groups on defense. And so what I kind of want to do is just talk about the young guys because that's what this bowl game is all about and see which groups we feel good about next year and which areas we're really going to have to plug in from the transfer portal. So Ryan, pick up 35-31 victory. A lot of positives. What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
I think it's definitely the offensive line you mentioned. We talked about it. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. We talked about it the entire year, but even in the preseason, everything was based on the offensive line because offense always is, especially in college football. But the issues we identified in the preseason were persistent, but we saw constant growth from each of the players. Maybe not Mason Murphy as much, but even then, the unit as a total, it felt like they were being more sound. And I'm just really happy that after 3 more weeks, 2 or 3 weeks of like practice focusing on this game, we could confidently say that the growth continued because Maavo really wasn't under duress that much. It looked like he was because he didn't really know what he was doing, but like realistically, he was protected pretty well. The run blocking was fantastic for most plays. It to the point where I think the very clear difference when Amari and Peterson was running the ball and compared to when Brian Jackson was running, I think that was more on the running backs themselves because neither of them are super explosive, but it felt like Jackson was just able to read the holes that he was given better. And maybe or Peterson, because Peterson was like the difference was pretty stark. Like Peterson, I don't think he gained more than 5 yards, and Jackson had multiple yard runs where he was like bursting through the second level. If he had that extra little gear to kick into, he probably would have broken a couple. But yeah, the run blocking was legitimately great, especially on the left side of the line. Pregnon coming back is huge because what they were able to do with I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm sorry, the left tackle that came in, the freshman. Even with him, his inexperience, his first game reps, the left side of the line was pretty dominant. Like they were pushing people around. It was really nice to see. I think Tobias Raymond stepping in, right tackle, he looked surprisingly solid. I think when he came in against Michigan, was that when he came in? I think,
Yeah.
yeah, he came in a game early this season, and he was getting beat by elite quickness, which is tough to cover regardless. But that was like I think we have something. And then he came back in to fully play this game, and it was another like, okay, I think we have something. And that was the guy that you pick him up at like 250, you develop him, you put weight on him. That's realistically what offensive line recruiting is, unless you get the legit 5 stars. You have to be able to develop the guys, develop their bodies, develop their technique. And I will say, even though Josh Henson's gone now, I think this was, I can't officially say a success, but you saw fruits of actual development. And I think that's nice. So yeah, offensive line for sure was like the biggest standout to me because besides the receivers, I wasn't super impressed by like specific guys on defense, but we'll get into that. Positivity, offensive line was great.
Yeah, I mean that was by far the biggest thing because, like I said, all I'll say six of those guys are coming back. Because, like you said, Justin
Yes, thank you.
Tuanu, sorry if we mispronounced the name, was fantastic. And Page went down obviously. Um, I mean that's three young tackles: Page, Raymond, Tuanu. That looks great. Center Keelan O'Connell also looked great.
Yeah,
Pregnon is a star. Lenny Noah looked good. So like, I mean, I was always saying you got to get a tackle in the portal, you got to get a center in the portal. Still want those guys, but at the very least, you have like a basis of these core guys that are only going to continue to develop and get better. And that should be what this team is about. We're in the Big Ten. Let's use that O line, run behind big number 70. Brian Jackson looked great. You got the transfer running back coming in. The running game looks great going into next year with that duo, with that offensive line, and of course you can still add more. Really impressed with that. Jacoby Lane, Makai Lemon, absolute dogs. I
Yeah.
mean, truly one of the best receiving duos in the country going into next year. And it's like you made a comment that was pretty funny. It was like, huh, the two guys we knew were the best players all along, when they get all of the targets, they produce. Like who would have thought that? And it's not a sneak diss at Deuce and Branch. I hope they do great. They probably will be great. They're tremendous athletes, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that Lane and Lemon are the guys now. And they're gonna play this year and hopefully be top 3 round picks for the NFL. They're that talented. Lane's an incredible red zone threat. Lemon kind of just does everything well. Just looks like an NFL receiver. So excited about that. We touched on Brian Jackson. I mean, that guy's a freshman. That really gets me excited. We still got 2 more years of him. Big physical, not a burner, but he's not just running straight. He seemed to have great vision. He was making great cuts. We were actually like watching the game, saying, "Oh, that's a good cut there." Running behind that offensive line, really excited about the offense. And it's like, basically for the offense, I saw a team that could beat the big dogs. Like I saw the recipe. You go on the road and you run behind the offensive line. You run the ball. You run the ball.
Yeah.
However, you go into Eugene, Oregon. You go into South Bend, which we have to do next year. You get that quarterback play. You're not beating those two teams.
Yeah.
So transitioning the quarterback, I don't think Maeva is a USC starting quarterback. I'm sure you agree. It's just it wasn't even that he played well and made a few mistakes. He just he just looked uncomfortable. Like I really don't know how to describe it other than that. He looked uncomfortable. A lot of terrible throws, terrible mistakes. And I know you feel the same way, so I guess the way I'll pass it to you is if I had to come down to we're playing Missouri State. Are you rolling with a freshman, Hassan Longstreet, which we're both against freshman startings,
Yeah.
or Jaden Mayava? Is it that bad for Mayava?
I think the way I would roll out this impending off season, or not impending, it's now the off season completely. I'm praying someone enters the portal. That's my first hope. Can't control that, so toss it out. But that if someone enters the portal that's better, immediately take. 2, open competition. 1, it gives your 5-star freshman that you flipped late a feeling that they can be like a real part of something, which is important, especially now with the transfer portal. I'm like a genuine open competition, and I'm willing. I don't like when they do this, when teams do this, but if it gets down to it, I'm willing to do a first half, second half type thing, especially against Missouri State, which is insane saying that SC is going to play Missouri State. But yeah, I before Maeva started, we talked about it. I hope I said this. Because I believed it. I'm pretty sure I talked about how I didn't really see anything from Maeva that made me think he was going to be an upgrade over Miller, just that he could be played differently. But now we have 3 games of evidence that Lincoln Riley will not let him play differently than Miller Moss. So essentially, you have him in the same system where a guy who is more accurate and had better processing power, at least for now, because he has more experience, than Maeva, and you put Maeva in that system where he cannot really utilize his main ability, which is like playing off schedule. You keep him on a schedule, and Lincoln, because we noticed again that he was just making the first read throws every single time, which means he's not reading at all. He's just throwing where Lincoln tells him to before the snap. With that, he looked so uncomfortable. Like he looked like he was being forced to do these things that he's not used to just throwing. I guess it felt it almost inexplicable because I don't know how like a actually talented college quarterback can look so uncomfortable making a normal pocket pass. It just felt really weird. So I guess roundabout way to answer your question, Maeva, I'm comfortable with him being the starter to start the year just because of the early schedule we have for the first 2 weeks. But I'm giving Longstreet a very real look in the spring. That's the way I'll put it, I guess.
Yeah, this isn't what I want. My prediction, if I mean, if I had to say what I think was going to happen, I think it's Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams. Miami starts the year, goes into Notre Dame, throws 3 picks, and then Hassan takes over. So I think that's what I think is going to happen because, I mean, I just didn't see it with Maeva. I
Yeah.
mean, I've never been more out on the quarterback after a game, but I just that that's not the level of quarterback that Lincoln Riley usually gets, that USC usually gets. And it's before transitioning to the defense, it's hilarious to me that I could say I feel good about the offensive line position, feel good about the receiving position, feel good about the running back position, don't feel good about the quarterback
Yeah.
position. That's where I'm at with the offense. In a Lincoln Riley offense, which is pretty funny. But hopefully for the next 4 years it'll be good. We got Longstreet. Hopefully we can get Ryder Lyons. So we'll just have to see what happens this year. I mean, it is a perfect year for a transfer quarterback. So
Yeah.
please, please, someone enter. And transitioning to the defense, I don't know if we have to spend too much time because another funny remark you had, you said when Texas A&M was marching down the field in that final 3 minutes, everything that's wrong with the defense is leaving, which I thought was pretty funny and also very true. Not going to get into Mason Cobb, because he's gone.
Yeah.
Good luck to him, but I mean we need to upgrade the linebacker play there, and so was there? Because I honestly don't know. Was there any young player that got you excited? To me, Desmond Stevens is kind of the only one that I feel like pretty good about, pretty excited about. Fountain and Shelby had the sack, but I need to see more for them. And we're gonna talk about this all offseason long. Those two guys are by far the X factors to me. Those are
Yeah.
the guys that gotta really, really step it up. So yeah, any young players stand out?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this genuinely without any twinge of negativity. I'm not down on any of the players, but no. Desmond Stevens, you're right.
Yeah.
Every time he's in the game throughout the season, it feels like he knows how to play linebacker, especially in coverage. Like he's always in the right place. So I was like, okay, thank God if he sticks around, he is someone I feel confident at least playing like a linebacker should. But the reason I don't feel like really good about any of the young players is because a lot of young players didn't play. The defensive backs, I mean, Ramsey's going to be back, so I wanted him to play the whole game, obviously. Gentry's going to be back, so when he's in, that's good. But EMA and Mason Cobb were playing most of the snaps on linebacker. They're not going to be here next year. And I know we won, and that is nice. I'm not going to be upset that they won the game. But I said before the game that the score result would not influence my opinion one way or the other. And that's still true. If they lost this game but played exactly the same, I would feel just as good. So, to me, I'd be willing to sacrifice some points to get more reps for younger guys against good competition. But that didn't happen, so whatever. Fountain and Shelby, we both saw, they had 2 really good TFLs, 1 sack and 1 like tackle for loss. And it was both times they were 1-on-1 against the tight end. So at least they can beat the tight end. And I'm saying that kind of sarcastically, but also real, because it shows that they have ability still. Because if you're bad, you won't be able to beat anybody. They still have talent. Maybe it's on the approach, maybe because they don't have a lot of experience before this year. Like I just feel so weird. They don't have any moves. They don't do anything. Maybe they have some moves, but they don't have like the direction to go. Fountain and Shelby engage the tackles on pass plays, like obvious passing downs. They engage them like they're nose tackles trying to two-gap somebody. They hold both hands on their chest and they're like standing up straight, waiting as if they're going to read. And I don't understand that. I'm sure it's because they have to keep contained because they have no interior pressure. So if they go too far up the field, the running, especially against this team, the quarterback's just going to scramble. But I feel like I'd risk that a bit just to see if they could rush the passer, which we know that as a team we were completely incapable. I don't know how many sacks the defensive line had all year. I think we had single digit sacks on the season, I'm pretty sure, and I would bet most of them came from a linebacker or a cornerback blitz. So jury's still out. I think a rational person wouldn't judge. I'm close to being irrational about them because it's crazy how talented they are without having any production. But yeah, we didn't see any young cornerbacks. I think Prophet Brown's supposed to be here next year, right? Him and
Yeah, hopefully.
Covington are not out of eligibility, so they're playing. That's fine because as long as you're going to be here next year, I'm cool with you playing. If you're not, I didn't really want to see you that much. And we did joke, but like Bryson Shaw was bad again. Akila Arnold was physical but not great. We talked about the linebackers already. Like all those guys that were upsetting are just going to be gone next year, so it's fine. Marlon Humphrey again. Just whatever.
John.
John Humphreys,
John.
excuse me. I'm thinking of the NFL player. Um, whatever. It's just not super inspiring, but I'm not going to be out on them yet. That's how I'll put it.
Yeah, I think first of all, yeah, the safety position has to get better. Arnold and Shaw is not very good.
Yeah.
I love Ramsey. Ramsey's a dog. It was a great pick. We need a safety, one safety. But it's interesting that the biggest weakness, everyone can see it, is the pass rush, and then you have two incredibly talented top 100 recruits
Yeah.
right there at the edge position. Two of them. You got to get one of them going. But the way I look at this defense, to me, watch college football my whole life, a good defense has four things. Number one, elite coaching. I think we have that. Number two, elite guys that come back. We definitely have that. We have one at every level. In the secondary, we have Ramsey at safety. We have Gentry coming back, and we have Anthony Lucas, who
Yeah.
haven't heard from him in a while, but he was great against the run, good edge defender. So you got guys coming back. Young players that take a step, guys who are freshmen, sophomores, then they fill a position. That's the one I'm really not worried about, but what I'm thinking about. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about Shelby Fountain. Those are some guys. Stevens, potential guy. Marcellus Williams, who didn't play for some reason. That's a guy. Christian Pierce, another possible guys. That's the one to me that's really going to define how good of a defense we are. Because those guys, almost all the guys I mentioned, most of them were top 100, 4-star, 5-star guys. If they can play up to their potential, that's huge. And then the fourth one is transfers in, which I think we're doing a pretty good job. We got the corner from San Jose State, two massive defensive tackles. So we got two of those things for sure. Let's see how the young talent develops, and we'll see how we fill in with a transfer portal. Because you need a linebacker, need a safety. Those two things are musts from the portal. You get those two things, I think you're good. Fountain takes a step. Maybe you get another defensive tackle for depth, another edge, another corner. Like they had this defense really has the recipe for success. You're just missing a few key players. Because imagine you do replace Arnold with a good safety. You replace Cobb with a good linebacker. I mean, this defense could really, really take a step. You already have replaced Hughes and Clifton. As much as I like those guys, not Hughes, excuse me, Meyer and Clifton. As much as I like those guys, you place them with 300-plus pound SEC defensive tackles. And so the defense is, I mean, Danton Lynn had a heck of a year. He's truly one of the best defensive minds in the sport.
Yeah.
You get him the right talent, I think this defense could be very good. And when you put it all together, I think we genuinely could be looking at a USC team in 2025 with a good top 30 defense, with a good potentially one of the best offensive lines in the Big Ten that may be going a little bit too far. But I mean, by week 10, this unit that's been together for so long, I really expect them to be moving and operating really smoothly. One of the best receiver duos, great running back duo. The transfer portal class is going to be all about the quarterback. That's really the big question mark for USC, which is insane to talk about a Lincoln Riley team. But I mean, think of a good defensive team. They can run the ball, just don't have a quarterback. You think you're freaking describing Iowa, not USC and Lincoln Riley. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. I think the defense has real potential. It has the bones for like being an impact defense. Like this year, we had a defense that fought insanely hard. Like you could be proud to say this is a team because we know they're under-talented, undersized at the very least, but they had pride in their game and it was legitimately pleasing to watch. I think with impact players, you can have like a game-changing defense. Maybe not consistently the way like Georgia is or whatever, but if you have defense, like there were really no turnovers this year. It was just a solid team that would never lose you the game. If you have a defense that could start like putting you in more positions to like outright win the game, that could really also really help the potential lack of a solid quarterback. So yeah, building through the defense, obviously key. And like you said, it's not even just transfer portal. I'll even give Maeva like a full season to think that he's a starter, the full offseason, excuse me, to think he's a starter. And maybe that helps build his confidence and he locks in. We just need the quarterback situation in general is the biggest thing. And like you said, this is kind of the second year in a row, even though we quote unquote knew Miller was going to start last year, it's still the second season in a row where you're questioning what the quarterback is going to be. And that's crazy for a Lincoln Riley team. And that's another thing we're going to have to start talking about, assuming we come to springtime and it feels the same. But for now, I think I'm fine leaving it in. Good win, very, very good win, like a genuine gutsy win. We saw a lot of positives. We saw a lot of like legit positives in places where we needed to see some positives. The offensive line. I think running back situation was huge too, because you can't. We got the New Mexico kid, which is good, and I think he'll be a good complement to Brian Jackson. But seeing Jackson be able to run and produce the way he did just makes you feel that much better because he is like a genuine change of pace guy, like physical, strong bruising guy. So it's nice. I'm glad to see where we're at. Matt, any last words before we get out of here?
No, I mean, like what we talked about the defense, it really could be an impact unit. It's going to take some transfers, going to take a linebacker, going to take a safety,
Yeah,
but we have all the building blocks there, and truly, I'm really excited about USC's future now.
yeah. It's crazy how quick things can turn. We were talking about the trajectory of the franchise with Lincoln, which we will continue doing that. But college football is fickle, but that means that it could turn in an instant, both positive and negative. This time it was very positive. We had a week worth good transfers, huge game against Texas A&M, and now we're going to the offseason with some real steam behind us, and I'm really glad about that. So fight on. We'll be back soon. See ya.